Good morning. It's Thursday morning, and I am going to read chapter 19 in Aerith's birthday, In Search of Food. When Aerith reached the den, the three foxes were sitting side by side near the entryway. Suddenly uncomfortable, Aerith gazed at them. Nimble and Flip returned his look. Tumble avoided eye contact altogether. For a moment, no one said anything. It was Nimble who called, "Hi, Aerith. Where you been?" "Out," Aerith said. "Walking." "Oh. See anything interesting?" "No." Silence. "Listen here," Aerith snapped. "You tasteless tubs of toad twaddle. If you think..." Hearing himself, Aerith paused, cleared his throat, and began again. "What I mean is that if you willow wallows think I'm going to do all the work while you loaf and soak up the sun like a bunch of cross-eyed octopuses..." "No, I didn't mean that. What would you like us to do?" Flip asked. "Chores? Hunt? Clean up? Whatever you say, Aerith. We'll be glad to do it." "How about making more snowballs?" Aerith continued testily. "Start rolling them along the base of the bluff. Then go across the field in any direction you want. Just stay behind the balls. Do you understand? Behind. If there are any trails you and your mother used a lot, make sure you roll the balls those ways. Any questions? Problems? None? Good. Then get going." Yapping and braying, the foxes hurried down along the trail they had already made, packing up some new snowballs, and began to roll them in different directions. When the three foxes returned to the den and Aerith, they were exhausted but elated. "We found 3 more traps!" Nimble cried with glee as she bounded up the bluff. "Fine," Aerith said. "Good, we're making progress. It won't be long before you found them all. We just need to search some more." "Aerith," it was Tumble who spoke. "What?" "We're really starving. Mom always brought home lots," Nimble added plaintively. "More than we could eat," Flip agreed. "More?" Aerith's ears perked up. "There were times," Tumble said, "she brought us rabbits, so big we couldn't even finish everything." "What happened to the extras?" Aerith asked. "Did she take them off and eat the rest herself?" He knew that's what he would have done. Flip shook his head. "Mom said dinner time was family time, that it was rude to go off and eat alone, so we always ate together." "Then where did she put the leftovers?" The foxes looked at one another in puzzlement. "I guess we don't know," Nimble said with a shrug. "She just did what she did." "Do you think she could have stored them somewhere?" Aerith asked. She ever mention having still another den? An emergency storehouse?" "She never did," Flip replied. A frustrated Aerith turned to look over the field. If there was a storage den stuffed with food, it would make all the difference in the world. The problem was, such a place was likely to be well hidden. It could be anywhere. He turned back to the waiting kits. "There must be one. I think we better go look for it," he said. "The point is, I can't teach you anything about hunting. So you need food. So think hard. Did your mother even hint about another place?" "Nope," Nimble said. "Okay," Aerith said. "Then here's what we're going to do. We've got these trails you've made. Instead of looking for traps, go back along them. Keep your noses to the ground. Sniff, smell, see if you can find a storehouse. But whatever you do, don't go off the safe trails. If you think you smell something, come back and we'll investigate together." The kits needed no further encouragement. They bounded off, each one going in a different direction. As he waited, Aerith scrutinized the field, trying to guess where, if he were to build a secret storehouse, he might put it. Then he craned around to look behind him, at the crest of the bluff in particular, which rose up some 5 feet over his head. He doubted if the kits would ever think of looking there. A shrewd mother like Leaper, knowing that, might well put a storehouse in just such an out-of-the-way spot. Aerith eyed the area carefully, trying to figure out a way he could haul himself to the top. It was steep, but as he looked around, he noted that not very far from where he sat was a natural cleft worn out of the face of the bluff. If he could work his way up to that cleft, he should be able to get beyond the bluff. Still, he hesitated. What about traps? There were still 6 to be uncovered. So far, however, they had all been found along the base of the bluff, in the forest, or out in the field. That suggested they wouldn't be beyond the bluff. Maybe. Aerith looked over the field. The kits remained hard at work. Should he tell them what he was doing? No, it would take too long. Besides, it would be a lot more enjoyable to greet them with the news of his discovery, if he made one. Aerith headed for the cleft, working his way across the bluff. It was not easy to reach. First, there was snow with which to contend. Then, too, the face of the bluff was studded with rocks and boulders, all of which slowed him down. More than once, Aerith needed to stop and rest. Once he reached the lower end of the cleft, he started up, clawing and scratching at the loose gravel and snow. Twice he had to stop, panting heavily. But when he pulled himself over the final bit, he faced a stand of pine trees. His heart skipped a beat. Food. Trailing drool of spit and ignoring all caution, he ran right toward the trees. So here's a picture of Aerith climbing up that rocky bluff. And remember, Aerith eats tree bark. So he's excited that he sees trees up there. Upon reaching the pines, he attacked them with nothing less than savagery, ripping away the outer layers of bark to get at and gnaw at the sweet underbark. After 20 minutes of nonstop eating, Aerith felt so stuffed, so crammed full of food, he had to rest and allow himself to digest his meal. Then, with a start, he recalled his original mission: food for the kits. He sat up and looked about. The first thing he realized was that there were enough trees in the area to keep him satisfied for a long time. That is to say, his food problem had been solved. But where, he asked himself again, if he were a fox, would he place a secret den? Aerith searched among the trees. The ground was hard, frozen in spots, throughout many rocks. The snow was sparse here, and he was able to make his way with relative ease. Still, there didn't seem to be any logical place for a secret den. Then he noticed, within a tightly woven grove of trees, a large pile of rocks. He lumbered over to it and eyed it with care, searching for a hole or anything to suggest that entry to an inner cache of food. But though he walked completely around the pile, he saw nothing that even hinted at it. So here's this pile of rocks that he found, and he's sniffing. He's thinking maybe that would be a place that a fox would want to hide some extra food. He was about to move on when he decided he should climb atop the pile. Perhaps, though he doubted it, he might see something more from up there. He clambered up the rocks. It was not easy, and he kept swearing to himself. Then, as he climbed higher, he began to detect the smell of something distinctly unpleasant. Aerith reached the top of the pile, and suddenly the smell of meat was much more pungent. Poking about the top, he found a hole. It was not a very large hole, but when he put his nose into it, he had to jump back, so repelled was the stench. It was the stink of meat. A lot of meat. Excited now, Aerith scratched about the hole, trying to enlarge it. The edges gave away quickly, as if they had been put loosely packed in the first place. Very soon, Aerith was able to poke his head down into a bigger hole. What Aerith saw in the dim light made him blink. The pile of rocks enclosed an entire storeroom of food. Partially eaten rabbits, voles, chipmunks, and even, to his horror, mice. All were frozen. It was as he guessed and hoped. Leaper had carefully provided emergency rations for her family to last for a good part of the winter. No one would starve. Caught between total revulsion and complete glee, Aerith wheeled about and dashed back toward the bluff and the foxes. "Bouncing bear burps!" he cried. "I've found it! We're saved!" He was so excited he hardly noticed he was using the word we. All right, I'm going to stop for today. The next chapter is called Bounder. All right, my friends, remember to be working on your math pages, at least 2 per day, okay? You can work on Prodigy. You can work on Epic. And don't forget to practice your multiplication facts. So remember, if you don't have flashcards, go ahead and make yourself some. Also, it's very helpful for me if when you've watched this video, if you go into Google Classroom where I post it and push the little turn in blue button in the corner. So go in like you're going to watch the video and then push that turn in button. That sends me a notification that you've watched the video. Okay? All right, my friends, have a fantastic Thursday. And don't worry, I'm working on getting us a live chat set up so you guys can see each other and I can talk directly to you. So I'm going to work on that today, and I'm going to send an email to everyone's parents telling them how to log on to that. And I might even put it in the Google Classroom. We'll see how tech savvy I am. All right, my friends, I miss you. Have a great day. Make good choices. Be a good self-manager for your parents. And I will talk to you later. Bye.